The role of the facilitator is to work with a group of 10 young people and to enable them to decide what is important for their project. So each of the house projects have the same basis. They're built on trusting relationships, they're built on the project's been young person led, but each of the projects will be slightly different because the young people in those projects might want slightly different things. So the facilitator's role is absolutely crucial in terms of building those trusting relationships with each individual young person, as well as enabling that group to work together.
The facilitator role is so important. It's a befriending service, it's a proactive, holistic support service. The benefit a young person has by having a facilitator is that the young person can tap into whatever level of support they need whenever they need it most.
We've switched this around a little bit, really. This isn't the professionals or the facilitators going out with a checklist and trying to make sure that the young person is able to do A, B, C and D. This is rather asking the young person, what support do you need in a various area, in a specific area, and building that package of support around the young person to suit their individual needs.
So that might be help with practical things. It might be help with decorating, help with sorting out your house. It might be help with budgeting. And then there are those really emotional things, and that's where the facilitator's job really comes into its own. And that's what I would say makes facilitators of the house project different to your general support staff. Part of the reason that it's different is that actually there are either 2 or 3 facilitators and there's 10 young people. So practically, just in terms of the amount of time that facilitators can give to young people, it's different. Often support workers have many more young people than that to support. So lots of our young people have had many changes of social worker, many changes of support worker, many changes of placement. The facilitator within the house project will stay with them throughout the whole of their journey. They sign up to that. They are committed to the project. So when young people are meeting with facilitators, talking to facilitators, they know that those facilitators will be there in 3 months and 6 months and 12 months' time. That enables them to create a real secure, safe base from which to go off and practice life and get things wrong and know that those facilitators will be there to help them put it right.
One of the key elements of a successful facilitator is building that trust with a young person. I think it's absolutely essential that the trust is in place before anything else can develop, really. And we do spend some time working with the young people and the facilitators to get that trusting elements coming through to the forefront. And I can think of a few examples where that's key to success, if you like.
My work with Shannon began over a year ago. When I first met Shannon, she was very explosive. She would go from being absolutely calm to explosive, kicking off, going really aggressive. And within a few seconds, she would just melt down over something which was very small.
Shannon first came to the house project having lived in a small group home in Stoke-on-Trent, so a children's home with herself and another young person. And Shannon was absolutely excited to be part of the house project, but that was very difficult for her. And what was difficult for Shannon was the anxiety of not having somebody to ask things to. So she'd never been in a house on her own because she had lived in a children's home, for example. So some of those things were very difficult for Shannon. And as the relationship between Shannon and Mohammed developed, they learnt a way of working with each other that meant that Shannon felt very safe, Mohammed was very clear boundaries, but incredibly helpful in doing the things that Shannon needed him to do, like going to the bank. They spent a long time going to the bank, not going into the bank but not speaking to anybody, going into the bank and Mohammed going with her to speak to the cashier. And as a support worker, you would not necessarily have the time to do that, or the patience, or more importantly, the understanding as to why that was just such an issue for her. And those are the sorts of things that Mohammed would do day in and day out, and Shannon now does all of that stuff on her own.
The role as a facilitator made that possible because the flexibility involved as working as a facilitator made that possible. We weren't restricted to the challenges of following the specific guidelines which other services have in social care and social services. We had a manager who was supportive so long as we could evidence why we were doing it and what was going on. We had pretty much free rein on how we can work with Shannon to get her where she wants to be. Having that freedom, having that flexibility to be able to work in a way which you know from your own experience as a facilitator will benefit that young person really helped to get Shannon from where she was when I first started working with her to where she is now.
It says that it has increased my confidence, so I have less nerves now, because when I was at the project, it's like I wasn't talking, I wasn't getting involved, and then I built my way up slowly, and Mohammed's been there, Jason's been there to help me to improve my confidence a little bit more and work together on what can I improve and make it better.
As a result of this relationship, as this partnership, Shannon has emerged now as being a good success story. Actually, she's living on her own now, and she's able to cook for herself, clean for herself. She's managing her own money. She ticks all those proverbial boxes, I guess, as a great success story for us. She's now living as a council tenant, and she's managing a tenancy very successfully.
I think that to be a good project facilitator, you have got to be resilient, you have got to be positive, you've got to have a real positive take on life, and you have actually got to see in these young people that they can make it, that they can do whatever it is that they set out and choose to do. And you have to absolutely have that belief that if you give young people the tools and the support to make changes in their life, that they can do that.
So thinking about what advice I might offer to a facilitator who's just starting off on this journey, be open-minded and flexible and understanding, and don't be judgmental, and just take time to listen to what young people are saying to you.
The first advice I would give them is to expect anything. Do not have expectations of having a 9-to-5 job. Do not expect to be able to do what you plan to do on a particular day. Anything can happen at any moment in time. We do plan and we do try, and we do sometimes stick to schedules and timetables, but anything can happen at any moment in time. So if you are used to structure, if you are used to routine and being able to do work in a particular style or fashion which is governed by rules and processes, then this isn't for you. However, if you're flexible, you care for the young people genuinely, you want them to improve, and you're prepared to put in the extra hours to be able to get the young person to where they want to be, then this is something you should definitely be looking at going into.